Hi friends, so I sit here on this beautiful warm November day and I am in the remains of my lilac bush. No, I'm not pulling it out or getting rid of it. I am just cutting it back so that it will grow into a beautiful tall bush as tall as my house or bigger next season. And the thing is, what's so surprising to me with God's creation is that you would think cutting these bushes back and taking them to a surprisingly small amount would kill them, or that they would be not as great of growth the next season, that their flowers wouldn't bloom, but it's the opposite. I found out last year when we did this white lime wash on our house, my husband and I painted the whole thing. That's another video in itself. We found that we had to trim all these way back, and the next season they came back and grew more beautiful and stronger than ever. And the rose bushes I had to cut back, the blooms were, there was more of them, there was more fragrance. It's amazing how much growth can happen in a season of pruning. And for me, the more I come out and do this yard work, the more I see a metaphor for my life and how much God still is pruning in me, and how many times I have to be cut back in some areas in order to grow. And one of those areas I've found again and again is my struggle with shopping. Throughout the pandemic, when all the stores closed down, I realized how much I relied on going to a store and shopping out of to fix boredom, or to fix when I was emotionally struggling or dealing with anxiety or stress. Especially when I was teaching, I thought, I've had a long, stressful week. I deserve going out and buying something new for myself. And I had to really work through that, because if you've been following my channel, my husband and I have been on a debt-free journey and a minimalism journey. We're trying to get rid of all debts, and we're trying to purge our house of things that are not necessary and not beneficial to our lives. But occasionally these old longings to shop still come up, and I try when I go out to make it purposeful, to make sure I've thought about what I'm buying and make sure it's needed. And recently I went out shopping for Christmas items, not the gifts for my kids. I've already done a video on that and I thought carefully through those. But this was some decor items that I had actually wanted since last year. Last year I'd wanted to add some gold ornaments to our tree. I even waited to the end of the year when everything went half off or more to see if I could find some, and couldn't. Everything got sold out. And the other item was Christmas lights. Last year, I held off on Christmas lights. I wanted to light our house up so bad because I feel like that's a representation of this season, Jesus being the light of the world. And so this year, I was so excited. We had some extra money available, and I thought, ran it by my husband. I want to go buy these lights, and I want to buy these decor items. And so I did, and I took my daughter to Hobby Lobby, and we walked through the aisles, and we bought, very carefully picked out ornaments for our tree that were beautiful. And I said, honey, can you go point to the ones you want? And she helped me pick it out. And while doing that, I envisioned how it would look on my tree. I thought about how it would look coming into my house. I thought about the lights, the Christmas lights I bought from Sam's to hang from these gutters, and how it would light up in the night, and driving up, my kids would just shriek with delight at seeing our house all lit up. And I connected those things emotionally to my vision for what Christmas would look like. Well, a couple weeks ago, actually a week ago to be precise, my son, he had been diagnosed with a lip and tongue tie, and I've had a lot of trouble breastfeeding and latching him. And finally we took him to a dentist to get it fixed. And when we went there, they came out and they told me insurance is not going to cover this. And I knew it was so important to his feeding and getting good nutrition and my pain level and all of this. And I knew we had to have this procedure done. And when they told us the price, my husband and I, our hearts kind of sank. It was a big amount. And we knew we'd have to kind of scrounge together and pull every bit of resource we could so that we don't have a debt there, that we pay that off. And I knew in my heart at that moment that I needed to return all of the things I had just bought for Christmas this year. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to go out and buy Christmas decor. For so many people right now, it is bringing joy to them. And for me, I was very joyful while buying it. A lot of people have had a really hard year. They've lost loved ones and they need some joy in their spirit right now. But for me, God whispered something that He's been teaching me a lot this last year. And it was the still small whisper of not yet, Morgan. Not yet. I know you want these things. I know you have a vision for them, but this isn't the year. And I knew right then I would have to take them back so that we could pay this bill. So that night I gathered up all my bags and I put them in the car, and I was surprised as I carried those Hobby Lobby bags out to the trunk. I want to confess to you guys, I started crying. I know it's material goods, right? This is first world problems, right? You can make fun of me because there's nothing I haven't already said to myself in my head. Like, come on, Morgan. Really? You're crying over this stuff? You are so blessed. You have these beautiful children, this home, this family. You've got other Christmas decorations. But I had attached little pieces of my heart, little hopes to each of those items. And as I put them into the car, it was like the death of a dream. And I've felt that before. Earlier on in my life, when I went through a divorce, every vision I had had for my life, my family unit with that, I had to let that die. I had to have a death of a dream. When I lost my sister and she passed away, all that I had hoped for our future together and our friendship was the death of a dream. When my grandmother passed away after my second child, well, she's second oldest, I guess. Third, I don't know. I can't even. My 2-year-old, okay. When she was born, the day after she was born, my grandmother passed away. And all the hopes I had had for my children, knowing her and knowing all the skills and beautiful things my grandma taught me, that was the death of a dream. And I've felt that, and it hurts, and it is painful. And I really had to go to God and just be like, what is going on here? And I realized I was trying to fill some holes this year. I had this commercialized, maybe in a way, vision of what Christmas should look like. I sat there and I thought about the Christmas lights and the tree and all these exterior things. And yes, Christians can get sucked into this too. And I needed Jesus to remind me in a still small whisper that He is enough. And that really, that's not what Christmas is about. I know we know that and we say that, but when God called me to follow that up with the action of returning these things and saying, not this year, Morgan, you're going to have Christmas without these things this year, but it's still going to be okay because I am enough. God had to remind me that the first Christmas is not as glamorous and romanticized as we like to remember. I think we sit around and we put up little nativities in our home and we think of it as this just beautiful, perfect thing. And there's some harsh realities to the first Christmas. Mary and Joseph were very much alone in the physical world. God was with them and He was watching over them. But people had abandoned them because of this, what they saw was an illegitimate pregnancy. They were traveling long distances. They didn't know people where they were at. She was very pregnant and uncomfortable. I was pregnant as of a month ago, and I remember how horrible it is to be in that last trimester and how much your body is just done. And I cannot imagine riding a long distance on the back of an animal. Nowhere in my brain can I conceive that. And yet she did, and she didn't arrive at some fancy hospital to have her baby. She was in a barn, essentially, a shed for animals that probably smelled foul. The air was probably cold and damp. She was probably sitting on a dirt floor. And I remember pregnancy and birth and delivery, there is fluids. There is yucky stuff. There is all kinds of things you're dealing with. There is pain between the contractions. And Mary, she felt that. And in that small stable, they didn't have Christmas lights to light it up. They didn't have a freshly decorated pine tree. They didn't even have presents. They had one gift and one gift only, and that was this little baby that came out and she held in her arms. And it was just this reminder to all of humanity that God is the gift. And he came very, very humbly. He didn't come with all of these, amazing things. He didn't come in the finest hospital with the finest people attending him. In fact, God chose some humble shepherds to bear witness to the birth. And how he lit it up, not with Christmas lights, but the Star of Bethlehem in the heavens. And Mary didn't have some cute take home her baby from the hospital outfit. She had cloths to wrap Jesus in. So I needed a shift in perspective as I enter in this Christmas season. I know we haven't even had Thanksgiving yet, but I think I needed to shift my perspective about what's important. Whether we head into Thanksgiving or Christmas, all of it, what truly matters is who you love. And that should include Jesus, but also the people that are around us. That's what makes it important. That's what makes it special. I've got my family around my tree this year. That's all that really matters. So I will close us with a brief reminder of the story that really is as we head into this season. In Luke 2, starting in verse 4. So Joseph went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, to the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger. I know we romanticize the manger, but guys, it's a feeding trough for animals. She didn't even have a full outfit for him. She had cloths because there was no room for them in the inn. Nobody saw a pregnant woman and took pity on her or said, "Oh, let me make space." No, they were kicked out to this stable, this shed with animals. And then the shepherds bear witness. And there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks at night. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news of great joy that will be for all the people. Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is Christ the Lord. This will be a sign to you. You will find a baby wrapped in cloths and lying in a manger." Suddenly a great company of heavenly hosts appeared with the angel, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace to men on whom his favor rests." When the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has told us about." So remember today what Christmas, what it all is really about. And let's return some of the Christmas that advertising has sold us, and let's return to Christmas as it should be. Thank you guys for watching.